Every summer, the family would set out on a cross-country road trip to visit relatives in Minnesota. Packed into the backseat of the old 1972 Pontiac Catalina, the child would watch the endless stretches of road pass by. Though tiring, the thought of reaching the cousins and exploring their century-old farm made the journey worthwhile. The farm was a playground, filled with endless possibilities. The children would lose themselves in games of tag, in the dusty hayloft of the Red Barn, pry open old railroad boxcars, and uncover forgotten treasures from the past. The sunlit days were spent climbing trees, riding bikes down the gravel roads, and enjoying the freedom that only the farm could offer. But the ultimate challenge lay in the dark, damp basement of the farmhouse. The dare was simple: walk to the center, turn off the lights, and count to 100 before sprinting back to the top of the stairs. For those few moments, the darkness seemed to come alive, swallowing up courage and replacing it with pure fear. As the years went by, the allure of the farm's adventures began to fade. Now 12 years old, the child found themselves drawn to different interests: black and white TV shows, Billy Joel records, and idle talks about sports. The magic of the farm felt distant, replaced by a restless boredom and a desire for something more. Then, one evening, the cousin leaned in close, eyes wide with excitement, and whispered about a forgotten graveyard he had stumbled upon. This was no ordinary spot. It was hidden and untouched by time. Curiosity sparked, and they made plans to set out on a new adventure, one unlike any they had before. Early the next morning, they set off on their journey. Across cornfields, through rocky quarries, and into wooded areas they trekked, their excitement mounting with each step. They paused by a small lake for lunch, its calm waters a stark contrast to the anticipation building within them. Finally, after what seemed like hours, they reached the forgotten graveyard. Hidden beneath a massive rose bush, the gravestones emerged from the earth, covered in moss and neglect. The names carved into the stones belonged to one family, long buried and long forgotten, a haunting reminder of lives once lived. As they ventured deeper, the air grew still. 7 small tombstones stood in a row, each one marked with a lamb. The realization hit hard: these were children, victims of a disease that swept through the area. A wave of sadness washed over them as they imagined the sorrow of the parents who had buried their little ones here. With a heavy heart, they began their journey back to the farm. The shadows of the setting sun stretched long and dark across the fields, transforming the once familiar landscape into something strange and foreboding. They quickened their pace, eager to reach the safety of the farmhouse before nightfall. Later that evening, a fierce storm rolled in, lightning flashing and thunder shaking the walls of the farmhouse. In the chaos, they glanced out the window and froze. Illuminated by the brief flickers of light were ghostly figures, darting across the yard. The shapes of children moved through the rain-soaked grass, heading toward the house. The cousins stared out into the night, hearts pounding as they watched the spectral children move closer and closer. The sight was unreal, a figment of their imagination, or so they hoped. Yet, no matter how much they tried to convince themselves, the figures were there, moving with purpose. Hours later, as the storm calmed, the child lay wide awake in the darkness. Footsteps echoed through the room, soft, quick, and relentless. Frozen in place, all they could feel was a profound sadness, a sorrow that went deeper than fear. The child whispered into the night, "I'm sorry," over and over, hoping the words could somehow make amends. Morning came with its warm light, but the chill of the night still lingered. At breakfast, they learned that the footsteps they heard weren't imagined. Even their parents had heard them. The child said nothing. The events of the night and the sadness from the graveyard, still heavy on their mind, a reminder of the lost souls they had disturbed.